We are very excited to be joined by a special guest today. If you follow college athletics at all, his name's Connor Stalions.
Yeah.
You know who he is. Connor, what's up?
Yeah.
Welcome to it,
Welcome
buddy.
in.
Welcome to it. Great to get you in person.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you're right now, you're going to the Michigan-Auburn basketball game on Friday, so you're en route. We appreciate you stopping by.
There's no better place to stop.
Yeah, I know,
right here.
I know,
this
right?
studio.
This and Bucky.
Actually, the game just happens to be taking place. I came here for this specifically.
See, what a
Connor, I really appreciate it.
And
This is a
run
great
my
Atlanta
office,
happens
actually.
to be a few hours away.
This is a great. So God, I'm going to hate pulling against you guys tomorrow night. I want to start with basketball. Looking at this matchup, number one, how did you always like basketball growing up? Are you a basketball fan, or is it something like? Because I've always loved it.
Yeah.
And being from an SEC town, it's now huge, but it used to just be kind of a thing to get you through the football season. Have you always been a basketball fan?
I'm like basketball at first. I
Really
played basketball all the way through my senior year. I always knew I wanted to coach football, but played basketball was better at basketball.
Nice, man. Well, it's absolutely, college basketball, March Madness is doing insane numbers.
Insane
right
numbers,
now,
and for us
crushing
too.
me.
And same thing. Like, we've always loved college basketball. Now, we're going to live stream this tomorrow. Michigan, Auburn. You're going to be at the game. Blaine's at the game.
So should he and I live stream at the game while you two
Foreign correspondents.
We thought about doing
Come
the
on.
correspondent. I'm just really, Connor, honestly, I'm just going to try and make it through it. Because I'm the type, on here, obviously there's no bias. We break it down the best way we think, what's going to happen, what's going to hit bets. But when I'm watching that game, the mask comes off. You know what I'm saying? I got a little two-face.
What we're saying is you might be our last interview. The show may.
Yeah, this may. I don't know if it's
after
going to
Friday
survive
night. Yeah.
Saturday, depending on
Because
what
we don't get these opportunities that much. Michigan, Auburn, Sweet 16 in basketball. The loser of this, we've come to agreement, right?
We have.
On our wager. The loser of this has to watch the entirety of the new Snow White movie in a straitjacket. So my question for you is, what does Michigan need to do so that's not me?
That's a big-ass straitjacket, too.
Man, obviously, from a personnel standpoint, Auburn, it doesn't really get better than Auburn. They're the overall number one seed for a reason, right? But I think at this point, once you're in the Sweet 16, obviously anyone can get hot, anyone can win, one game elimination. And I think Michigan definitely poses some of the most difficult mismatches more than any team, just because of Area 51, Vlad and Danny. Because it's interesting, they really haven't been hot, like with the exception of Roddy Gale, which is crazy given the last few months he's had.
He dropped 26 last week.
Yeah, and he was like 4 for 6 threes, I think. And
Let's replicate that.
They're all very timely too. And I think Michigan, besides Trey Donaldson late in games, has been missing a timely, hot shooter. LJ Kaysen a little bit in one of the tournament games in the Big Ten tournament, but they've been winning without being hot, so they still haven't even. I don't even think they've been reaching their ceiling and playing as well as they could. I think obviously Broom is probably going to be second in the player of the year.
Yeah, I think Flagg's
probably.
I think Janot's going to be second.
Has he? Because I watch college basketball, but obviously I don't watch the SEC as much as I have Michigan, and I would find it hard to believe that he has faced a front court like he's about to face.
Yeah. When you look at the SEC, and I thought about this when the matchup kind of came out, like, who does Michigan remind me of? Because you have personnel and then you have scheme.
Correct.
Right? And you know this better than anybody. From a personnel standpoint, there's some good bigs in the league, but typically they're isolated. There's like one as opposed to multiple, but also we're not talking about like two stand in the paint bigs. We're talking about one stand in the paint big and another guy that's a stretch.
Yeah.
I think Danny Wolf
Larry
has
Bird.
some similarities.
Is that what Bruce Pearl said?
Yeah,
Larry Bird.
Well, Danny Wolf to me is a 7-foot version of what Chaney Johnson is for Auburn. Like, Chaney Johnson's 6'7". He can go play in the post, he can back you down, but he can handle the ball, he can shoot the three. So from a personnel standpoint, Michigan is a little bit different. Schematically, though, and I heard Stephen Pearl talking about this in an interview, they do some similar things to what Ole Miss does. And now Ole Miss doesn't have those two guys down low. What worries me about, from the Auburn perspective to Michigan, is there's two things that can take down a better team. Because I think overall, Auburn, from a personnel standpoint, has a better team. But if you're hot and you get hot like Roddy Gale, like Auburn did in 2019, where they just couldn't miss a three, or you're unique in some sort of way. Like you look at a team like Drake, what they did in Missouri, like a team that really just limits possession, slows the game down. But being able to run a pick and roll game with your 4 and your 5, and it's not like it's at the top of the key either. I'm watching them do it in the lane. So Auburn switches everything, which is a good thing in basketball.
Both teams, I think, defensively do the same exact things.
It's nuts. It's nuts. But where I get worried with Johni Broome is a finesse big. That's why they call him Big Sassy. Yep. He's not like a boulder that's going to back you down, back you down, back you down. What I'm worried about is Auburn's going to switch everything, and they're going to switch Denny Wolf until he gets a matchup he likes, which includes Johni Broome out on the perimeter because he can back down Johni Broome. That's what I'm worried about from the Auburn side. So that's where I'm at on it. We've all been there, endlessly scrolling through these fitness influencers, selling you complicated routines that promise the world, but in reality deliver very little. But the truth is, most of these tips and tricks just overcomplicate what should be simple. And that's where Fitbod comes in, where they combine the workout planning and tracking you need to actually stay consistent and make real progress. What makes Fitbod special is how it builds workouts around your specific situation. This app crafts routines based on your unique fitness journey and available equipment, and it even factors in your recovery time between sessions. Now, their smart technology also ensures each workout hits the sweet spot, challenging enough to drive results without pushing you to burnout. Plus, with over 1,000 demonstration videos, you'll never wonder if you're doing an exercise correctly or not. It's like having a trainer who really knows you, pushing you enough to make progress without burning out. So level up your workout. Join Fitbod today to get your personalized workout plan and get 25% off your subscription, or try the app free for 7 days at fitbod.me/booster. That's fitbod.me/booster.
I mean, I think, tell me if you agree here, the number one thing this game comes down to is probably foul trouble as it relates to, if you can get Broome or if they can get Vlad in foul trouble pretty early.
That's exactly what we talked about.
And I think Michigan, the way that Vlad specifically plays defense, and he just walls you up, goes straight up, he's very good at not committing fouls.
And Kalkbrenner was playing for Creighton, and he did a good job of that too.
Yep.
Your point.
And Broome, in the limited games that I've watched, he's very good posting up, getting the help side to collapse, and then he kicks out.
Yep.
Well, now Michigan, unlike some other teams that Auburn's played, might not have to help so much because Vlad can just play him straight up.
No, I agree with you 100%. And I mean, Cone, we talk about this all the time on the show. Like, the way the game is officiated is incredibly important because you don't know. Like, if they call it
as
tight,
unfortunate as it is for both teams.
like if they call it tight,
which they've been doing all tournament.
I agree with that.
Every game.
I agree with that. If they call it tight, I was sitting here thinking it's like, okay, how would I rather them call it? Would I rather them call it tight? And because I think Auburn has better guards, you'll be able to draw more fouls going to the basket? Or should I hope they call it loose, where Cardwell and Vlad and all them can swat and hit and beat each other and they don't call any fouls? I don't know. I really don't know.
It's kind of incredible that Michigan's been able to go on this run with the conference tournament and so far in the March Madness tournament, because we talk about this all the time about how important it is to play your best ball sort of later in February and early in March. Sometimes that holds true, sometimes it doesn't hold true, but Michigan is winning games despite not playing great basketball sometimes. I mean, the conference tournament championship game against Wisconsin, they're not playing great basketball, even early so far. I mean, turnovers have been such an issue. It's a part of the team identity. It's not just a couple games here or there. That's what I'm a little bit worried about, especially as it relates to the backcourt pressure that I think Auburn can provide, but especially even the pick and roll, which is so deadly for Michigan. What happens in the scenarios where Vlad gets caught at the top of the key, picking but not rolling, and then he's holding the basketball? That's where a lot of the turnovers have occurred, in my opinion. How can Michigan keep that from happening? Is it just as simple as finish the roll and get near the basket for the bigs?
Yeah, and specifically the last game against A&M, right? He had a couple turnovers that were
trying to skip past.
Most of Michigan's turnovers are unforced.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously a little bit is opinion based there, but I think of the 9 turnovers in the last game against A&M, I would say eight were clearly.
That's still a good
nothing
number
to
against
do
an
with
A&M team that's scrappy as hell on defense.
True. In the last two games, the UCSD and the A&M game in the tournament, they saw zone defense for most of the game, or for a lot of the game, right? And then A&M went to their little full court. It was like a 1-2-2 or 1-3-1, whatever it was. And I think, obviously, Auburn does not play much true zone.
Yeah, they're going to man
more
and
match
switch
zone,
you.
switch man, whatever you want to call it. And I think that specifically helps Michigan, because Michigan not being a great three-point shooting team consistently over the last few months, if they're getting man, like you were saying earlier, and they can get the mismatches where you can ISO Vlad and Danny on one side of the court and basically put you in a dilemma. Hey, do you truly help off and then open up a flare screen on the other side, or are you just going to play straight up and say that you can stop Vlad one-on-one in the post, or with Danny? I think that's going to be interesting. I think that Michigan to win, and this isn't just Auburn, any game at this point. And, now in the Sweet 16, I'm a firm believer, like, it comes down to more of you playing your game than who specifically you're playing.
For sure. Unless
you totally have a mismatch problem, like if Vlad and Danny truly do put Auburn in a dilemma. For Michigan, I think all it is can Namari Burnett get hot?
Yeah.
And can LJ Casing get hot? They've won these games with one guy getting hot. If two guys get hot, my definition for Michigan, that's the team getting hot.
Yeah.
And they really haven't done that yet, where two guys get hot. So if that happens, I think, they're going to be pretty hard to beat.
You got to get Burnett's ass out of the corner.
Yep.
God, he's deadly from the corner. He's a Bama transfer. I watched him do it at Bama.
Yeah.
So he had a bad game against A&M. He didn't even really get.
Oh, he'll go. He'll hit 7 threes against Auburn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way it works.
Can you just give your perspective on Dusty May and the trajectory of the program quickly? Because, the Fab Five is one of the cooler pop culture stories in college basketball, right? And that predates almost my life, but certainly my affiliation with Michigan, right? And including the trouble that they got in with Chris Webber and all that. So by the time I arrive at Michigan in 2006, the basketball program, it just in my opinion, to no fault of their own, is like having to rebuild, and was just completely gutted from that whole scenario that predates anything I had to do with the university. But Manny Harris was a great basketball player. A lot of these guys were my friends. They still had good players. But then John Beilein shows up, 2 national championship game appearances against Louisville, and then in the Final Four against Villanova, Dante DiVincenzo. I had to watch that in person with my own eyes, just goes off for Villanova. And then Juwan Howard, I thought it was a good hire at the time, at least given a chance, right? You don't know what could happen. It didn't end well, but now Dusty May is in, Sweet 16 appearance, year 1 after 8 wins a year ago. How's this thing going to go moving forward?
Now with the portal, it's so interesting, specifically in basketball, right? Because football, as you know, there's so many different variables that play into a team's success. Basketball, if you get, it's the same reason, like, why is LeBron so good? He's won at places where he hasn't had great support before. And, 1 or 2 guys can really make the difference. So, like, how you construct your roster in basketball, to me, is so interesting, different than how it is in football. Obviously, they're going to have to replace both Vlad and Danny, but he has recruited, he got Trey McKinney in Michigan. He's one of the top guards in the country. I think from a cultural standpoint, obviously you can see, how good he is, and he took FAU, and now the quick turnaround with Michigan. From a schematic standpoint, I think it's almost like some of the decisions he was making with rotation, and Michigan was playing a true 2-3 zone for a majority of the season. And it really hurt their ability, one, to defend the three-pointer, like against Michigan State. Michigan State got hot. But 2, arguably even worse, is they really struggle on the defensive glass, because, you play zone. Shot goes up.
Guys are free.
It's 50-50.
Yeah.
And I think, some points in the season, just as a fan, I'm watching, I'm like, man, why do we keep playing this 2-3 zone? And, there's some things, the rotation. I wonder, why is he getting so many minutes? Why is, for example, Kaysen not playing as much?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's almost like you just got to trust Dusty. Like, okay, it's tournament time.
Yeah.
Clearly he's done this before. And it's almost like he was just saving stuff for the tournament. And now they've got their groove with the rotation. They've got their groove with the match zone that they play, just like Auburn does.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like he's like 4 steps ahead of you.
Yeah.
And, anything you were frustrated with about as a fan, kind of questioning a few things here and there, it's like, well, there was a rhyme or reason the whole time. And clearly he's next level from I'm no basketball schematic guru, but a lot of the things he's done, any question I've had, like, I wonder why he's doing this, either it was answered or he switched it, come tournament time to not even addressing that. And I think that's the most interesting for me. And I don't know if you remember in the A&M game, he, like Vlad had 4 fouls, which was kind of some BS. I mean, there was one that he took a charge. They called it a block. Just because the guy's 7 foot doesn't mean it's not a charge. And then there was one, he goes straight up, they call it a foul. So he gets 4 fouls, and you can't take him out, right? Especially on offense. And I think he started doing this with like 3.5 minutes left, where he took Vlad out during a free throw, and started the offense defense.
There were a lot of ticky-tack calls in that game, but I thought it was consistent because there were several on A&M.
It was. So A&M.
Okay, so we're calling it like that.
Yeah. Correct. So Buzz didn't do the same thing until about 2 or 3 times of him subbing in and out Vlad. And it's almost like, Dusty just doing that a few possessions before A&M did gave us that edge for a couple possessions. It just seems like he's very attention to detail with every decision he makes, especially come tournament time. Like, he's been setting it up for this. And, I think also as a player, if I put myself in the shoes of a Michigan player who has not, been in this position yet, it still would give you like a sigh of relief that and confidence in your head coach. Like, well, if he did this with FAU, there's definitely a level of trust and confidence in him as a head coach to be like, well, we can go even farther.
Yeah. Well, that man's been pushing all the right buttons. We're going to see, like we said, we're going to be live streaming the Auburn-Michigan game from Mission Cigar and Social.
And hopefully from the arena too.
And hopefully with our foreign correspondents from the arena too. But we'll see if we got anything after that. Like my brother says, I mean, you watch an Auburn game, there's 3 holes in the wall, and we won by 14. So we appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and check out our other interview with Connor Stalions that's going to be dropping this coming up Tuesday.